She's out of here. I married my wife 4 years ago. It was my first marriage and her second. We seemed to have had a good relationship, and I thought all was well. But a little over 3 weeks ago, I discovered she was having a full-blown physical affair with a contractor who had worked on our house. When I followed her to his apartment and confronted them together, she made a huge scene. She and the contractor both attacked me, but I managed to defend myself and give her a bloody nose. The neighbors called the cops and we were both taken in. I made bail that same night. When I got home around 3 a.m., my wife was not there. She was probably at her friend's house crying on her shoulder. I told my stepson what had happened, then packed my personal belongings and valuables into my truck and left that same morning. I immediately went to the bank and withdrew about $10,000 from our shared account. I have not been back home since, and am currently staying with a friend in a small town 2 states away. He has helped me get a job driving for his trucking company, and I have no intention of going back to my cheating wife. However, she has been texting me non-stop since that night, claiming she wants me back and that she has ended things with her lover. She also apologized for attacking me and her boyfriend. She claims she was only trying to protect him because I am stronger and bigger than him. But I know that is a lie. She attacked me out of anger for breaking up her affair, and because she has a vicious temper. Her son is also angry with her and told her family about her infidelity. He even called me to tell me that she kicked him out of the house after he exposed her to her in-laws. Everyone is trying to contact me and find out where I am, but I have not told anyone. Now that I have a job here, I feel like I can start over. My question is, can I file for divorce from the state I am currently living in, which has more fair divorce laws than the state my wife is in? Or do I have to file in her state? I am afraid that if I file in her state, she will be able to get more from me than she deserves. I also want to know if I should go back and confront my wife. My friend has offered for me to stay with him until I find a place, but he also thinks I should not run from my problems. I don't see it as running, but rather taking time to think clearly. I am afraid that if I go back, she will convince me to take her back, even though I promised myself I would never do that. She knew that cheating was the one thing that would end our relationship, and now she can deal with the consequences. But I want to know what you all think. Some may ask, what happened in her first marriage? My wife says her ex used to abuse her, and she ran away from him and divorced him in 2005. I met her in 2013, and we dated for a year, before I let her talk me into marrying her. Looking back, a lot of what she told me about her first marriage didn't add up. My gut told me not to marry her, but I ignored it. I never met her ex, and never thought to ask her family about him. They never mentioned him, so I assumed he was no longer a part of their lives. I asked my stepson if she cheated on his dad, and he said he never knew of any infidelity. So I'm not sure if this is the first time she has cheated. I have a court date at the end of July, and I plan on consulting a lawyer. I need to see a lawyer and wrap up all my business at once. I just want to get this over with and move on with my life. I have to appear in court at the end of July, so I have to go back anyway. I was the one who started the fight, so I will take responsibility and accept my punishment like a man. They only charged me with 1 count of assault. I think my wife told them some story because I wasn't charged with assaulting her. I guess I owe her that much. My wife and I don't anything to divide. There is no alimony in her state as far as I know. The house is a rental. I have never had much money. I don't make much as a truck driver, and my wife has bounced from job to job. We only have about $23,000 in a money market account, which came from a big bonus I earned on a driving job in Alaska 3 years ago. I took less than half of that when I left her. She can have the rest. I don't want it. Well, I did get one piece of revenge. I took our dog with me. My wife loves that dog. It's killing her that I have him. Probably over half the texts she sends me are asking how the dog is doing. One thing is for sure, she will never see him again. I know my wife was pretty wild in her younger days, and yes, she went through a phase with cocaine, but as far as using hard drugs during our marriage, no, I never noticed anything suspicious. To be honest, I am the one who tends to drink and party too much, My wife has always been pretty moderate, but this experience has shown me that anything is possible. If she was under the influence when she attacked me, that would explain why she turned on me. I just received a string of emails from my wife. I decided to respond for the first time since I left. Take a look at her thought process. Why haven't you been responding? I know you are getting my messages. Please talk to me. I can't believe you are willing to throw away our marriage because I messed up. I told you I'm sorry, and I mean it. How many times do I have to say it? Will you just let me know you are okay? As for me, I'm okay. It's funny that you are now concerned about my well-being. You didn't seem worried when you and your boyfriend attacked me. I'm glad you are okay. And that is not what happened, and you know it. I was trying to stop you from hurting him, and I didn't want you to end up in jail. You completely overreacted. Hello, where did you go? As for me, how am I supposed to react when I find out my wife has been sleeping with another man and then see her kissing him in a parking lot? How would you react if you saw me kissing another woman and knew I had been sleeping with her? What do you want me to say to you? How can I make this right? I met him and we got carried away. I never meant for any of this to happen. It was a mistake, and I'm sorry. Please come home so we can work this out. I'm not seeing him anymore. I promise I will never see him again. I love you and I want things to go back to the way they were before. Hello? Why do you keep leaving? Where did you go? As for me, things can never go back to the way they were. Obviously, things were not as good as I thought because you went outside of our marriage and slept with a scumbag like him. How can I ever be around you, knowing you betrayed yourself with that filth? And as for what happened in that parking lot, I was there. You attacked me and tried to hurt me. I have the scratches on my face to prove it. How can I ever trust you again after your cheating? You are not the woman I thought you were. What you did was a choice, not a mistake. You can think what you want, but that is not the truth. It happened and you know it. You had no right to come there and try to manhandle me. Yes, I shouldn't have cheated on you. That was wrong, and I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. But it was just as wrong for you to accuse a man who is smaller and weaker than you. And for what it's worth, I only slept with him that day before you came over there. And it wasn't even that good. You are much better than him. Oh, that just makes me feel so much better. How sensitive of you to only sleep with him once. No way you did it once. You can't seem to stop lying, can you? Whatever, think what you want. As for me, you know what? Save your apologies for someone who cares. I want a divorce, and I don't want to drag this out. You take your things and I'll take mine. We'll let the lease on the house run out and we'll go our separate ways. I can get a mediator to draw up a divorce agreement for way cheaper than a lawyer can. I'll pay all the fees, all you have to do is sign the agreement. I'll make it easy for you. Then, once we are legally separated, you can go out and have fun with all the bikers and weird guys you want. Do whatever you want, I'm through. That's the way it's been going, back and forth. She continues to defend her other man. No remorse. Nothing. Nice, huh? Update. This whole thing is a nightmare. The thing is, if you met my wife, she comes across as a very well-spoken, clean-cut, white bread type of presentable lady. There's nothing outwardly scuzzy about her. She dresses neatly and conservatively, isn't festooned with tattoos and piercings, and she's in very good shape and looks much younger than her 43 years. I can't wrap my head around her actually dating and sleeping with this guy who looks like a cast member from Sons of Anarchy. I just don't get it. I'm not a bad guy. I work hard, never done anything wrong, I'm big but not fat. I don't think I look bad for a 45-year-old. I try to dress halfway neatly, I help out around the house, help cook, do all the handyman stuff, and car repairs that a blue-collar guy is supposed to do. I always thought, if you took care of your woman, treated her right, helped out, and told her I loved her enough, that I was doing what a husband was supposed to do. I'm not a particularly nice guy either. I was a Marine, I work in trucking and construction. I've had lots of women in my time, and I have my share of sordid tales. I can handle myself, and I don't back down from a fight. I thought I was a good husband. I just don't get it. I'll be filing in her state. I just talked to a lawyer yesterday, and she is putting me in touch with a paralegal who does mediation. Oh yeah, I get 20 texts a day from her. She's pissed again because I'm not responding. I'm going fully dark now. I may call Sprint and have her number blocked. Oh, absolutely, her boyfriend is the victim. Poor, tough man got his back handed to him for messing with another man's wife. And how did I catch them? I used her phone to call my mom, and the text messages showed up on the screen with "Hey baby" or something like that. I read through about 4 days of filth in her texts. I actually had to go in the backyard and throw up. Anyway, they talked about wanting to see each other again, but had to wait until her idiot husband was out of town on a driving job. So the next day, I lied to her and told her I'd be gone a couple of days running a trailer somewhere. I left that morning, but came back a while later, and sure enough she got in her car all dolled up. I followed her from a distance to his apartment and saw her walk in. I went down the street to a diner and waited there for about an hour. Then I texted her and told her I was home, and that the driving job was canceled. Where was she? She said she would be home in 30 minutes. I waited about 5 minutes, got back in my truck, and drove back to the apartments. I parked where I was just down the street, but could see her car. When they came walking out together, they started kissing by her car. That's when I drove in and surprised them. She threw away a good marriage and a guy who loved her for some random guy. I'll never understand it. Not being able to understand it is worse than these images going through my head. I feel like my head is going to explode. I've thought back and honestly, up until I discovered the affair, I saw nothing. Either this was a whirlwind affair and it happened suddenly, or it has been going on for a while and she is just a really good actress. I'm probably never going to know the details of the affair, because she would probably just lie if I asked her. I really thought we had a good marriage. We argued like any couple over mundane things, but we always made up. We had way more good times together than bad. She was my best friend, I thought. We went on a date every week, and I always tried my best to please her in bed. If she was dissatisfied with me, why didn't she ever just come out and tell me? She owed me the benefit of the doubt. I could have fixed whatever I was doing wrong. I don't want her to lose it, and spitefully tell me about all the guys she has been messing with behind my back. I spent a lot of time out on the road last year, so she had lots of opportunities, especially when my stepson was gone for school. My trust in her is shot to hell forever, and my love is dying by the minute. And, get this, last night, she started sending me pics of herself and is back to begging me to come home. I feel like Dorothy, wondering when the flying monkeys are going to come bursting through my window. Comments: you need to block her calls and texts. Your original plan of going completely dark is the one you need to stick with. I think you are doing very well. You have made all the right moves so far, except for that lapse yesterday when you engaged her. There is something fundamentally broken about your wife. Yes, there is a good possibility this is not her first time cheating. I would surmise that infidelity may have played a role in the dissolution of her first marriage. She may be a cold, cool, calculating player who gets her kicks and her ego fed by seducing and having fun with lots of men and keeping a husband on the side to pay bills. It is a distinct possibility, and I'm pretty sure you must divorce in the state where you were married. OP responds, well, I got off the phone with my lawyer in the other state. She will have her paralegal, who is a mediator, get with me to draw up a divorce agreement. This lawyer will also represent me in the misdemeanor case. After I told her the whole story, she is pretty sure that I won't get more than probation and a fine. One remark that she made in a text she sent me last week was something to the effect of, I don't understand why you got so violent. It was only a one-time thing. That guy means nothing to me. So, does that mean any guy she sleeps with means nothing to her? I slept with her. Do I mean nothing to her? It was only a fun time. Guess that was supposed to make me feel better. I had a long phone talk with my stepson this morning about this very thing. He is now sleeping on a couch at his friend's apartment because he doesn't want to go home and deal with his mother's bullcrap. He has only been living with us during summer break for the last couple of years. But I asked him if during those times prior to graduating and during summers with us, he had ever thought his mom might be stepping out on me. He told me to his knowledge never. He is just as shocked and confused about what his mom did as I am. He is also severely pissed off at his mom. He told me I was the best thing that ever happened to her, and he cannot believe she threw the marriage away for a piece of crap like the other man. He is a great kid, and I hate to see him have to deal with all of this while trying to negotiate college. So at this point, I don't have any proof that she has ever cheated on me before. But based on everyone's posts, I am not discounting the possibility. It just sucks that I had to find out this way. I would have preferred if she had just told me a year ago that she wasn't happy and we could have divorced and gone our separate ways. Yes, it would have hurt, but not like this. Last night, I went to a 4th of July barbecue with my buddy, and there were 2 or 3 single women in their late 30s who were chatting me up. One even gave me her phone number. So when I am ready to date eventually, there will be no shortage of available ladies here in this town where I'm living. I really like this town. I'm not crazy about the job I have, but I'm not complaining. Cement truck driving is not my cup of tea. However, there is an opening for a school district bus driver here. I have a TP&H endorsement, so it should be no problem to pass the state test and get a P endorsement to haul kids. I am heartbroken over my wife, but I see myself making a nice future here, a fresh start. She just sent me an angry text about how she's going to pay the bills, how she's going to make rent, and so on. I haven't answered any of them since our conversation a few days ago. I plan to call the landlord on Monday and tell him the situation. I hope I can get out of the lease. I need to block her. I was gonna do it last week, but never got around to it. I barely know the other man, and I plan to tell my landlord that his contractor is the reason he's losing a renter. I have no problem hitting this guy where it hurts, and I'm leaving her more than half the money. I earned that money driving a gravel truck in Alaska in the winter. That was hard-earned cash. The woman can choke on it. Hopefully, she'll prepay the rent so my landlord doesn't get stiffed. Then, she can move her tattooed boyfriend in, and he can watch my big screen and sleep on my lazy boy. I just got off the phone with my stepson. He went over to the house to pick up the rest of his clothes, and he said, the minute he walked in the door, his mother lit into him. She was demanding that he tell her where I was and was threatening him. He told her he did not know where I was, which is true, and said he wouldn't tell her even if he did. So, I guess she kicked him out for good. Poor kid. Luckily, he has a good friend who has taken him in, and they are going halves on an apartment. He says the wife looks awful and she acts like she has been drinking or did something worse. I'm beginning to think more and more that she is on something. I talked to the landlord and gave him the short version of what happened. He's been thinking of firing the other man for a while because he's not good at what he does. He is just cheap. Well, he says the guy is gone as of tomorrow, so at least I have the satisfaction of knowing I got the guy fired from his contract. The bad news is I can't get out of the lease unless he finds a new renter. He says I should wait and see if the wife can pay the rent. If she can't, then he will start the eviction process. He will work with me, given that it was his contractor who screwed things up. I almost forgot. I have a Skype meeting set up with a paralegal who is going to draw up the divorce agreement next Monday. I'm actually excited. She emailed me a bunch of forms I have to fill out. A bunch since I don't sleep anymore. I spent most of last night filling out the divorce agreement forms. It is a weird feeling to be doing so. Stepson called me just a few minutes ago and said his mom told him to come and move all of his belongings out. She's mad at me, so she is taking it out on him. I arranged for a friend of mine who owns a storage unit to let him store his stuff there. Poor kid, I feel bad for leaving him alone to deal with her behavior. Small update, I got a line on my own place to live. Talked to my boss last night, and he has a single-wide trailer on the back of his property that he lived in while he was building his house. It has electricity, water, and its own septic. He says if I do work on it and fix it up, I can live there rent-free for a few months while he goes down to Mexico to run a mine. He and his wife lease down there, so while they are gone, I would basically be the caretaker of his little ranch. I'm very excited. This would give me the opportunity to save up money. I spoke to my stepson this morning and I guess his mom has calmed down a bit and they are talking. Now, she wants him to move back in. She apologized to him, so I guess he will be moving back. I told him to do what he could to get along with her and to concentrate on saving money for college. I also thanked him for sticking up for me in regard to his mom and her family, but that he needed to concentrate on himself now and his schooling and let me fight my own battles. I have about 90% of the paperwork for the divorce agreement ready, and I am planning to break the silence and call my wife and let her know that the agreement will be drafted next week and will be coming her way for signature. I know most of you will say I should stay dark and let the lawyer handle it, but I know how my wife operates. And if I am going to try to get her to agree to this, then I need to talk to her in person. I only plan on calling her. In her state, the mediation process does away with her having to be formally served. So my law firm will just mail her the paperwork. What I want to do is clear the path and let her know beforehand that it is coming and not to freak out on me. If she wants a regular courtroom divorce, I will give her one, but I don't think she will want to do that. If she stays in the rental house, she will be making barely enough to pay the rent and utilities. She won't have the money to hire a lawyer of her own. And given the fact that we have no real assets other than our old crappy vehicles, she would be foolish to want to do a divorce by any other means than mediation. My landlord is a good guy, and I have never been late on a payment during the 2.5 years I have rented from him. He has made it clear he will work with me. If he can find a renter, then he will let me out of the lease. The catch being the wife would need to move out quickly. She has a lot of personal belongings and clutter saved up from over the years that she won't get rid of. So moving her might be a challenge. I suspect the wife will use the $13,000 to pay the rent. It should cover about 10 months' worth. She likes that house and won't want to lose it. I checked the account and noted she has not taken anything out. Shocker. So when I call her next week, I might ask her what her intentions are about the house. If she wants to stay, I'll tell her she needs to use the money. If not, then I need to let the landlord know so he can start advertising. Well, for a quick update, I got in touch with the landlord. I called the landlord and discussed a few matters. He mentioned without my asking that he had not yet fired the other man because he is still in jail. My stepson called late last night and is now living back at home. He says my wife is a mess and barely speaking to him. I will be moving to my new trailer tomorrow. There is no internet service out there, and the cell signal is weak, so I may only be able to check in once or twice a week. I will stop by a local fast food restaurant and use their internet to post updates. Other than that, there's nothing new to report. The divorce paperwork is filled out and I faxed it to the paralegal yesterday. I have a telephone meeting with her on Monday to go over the details, and then she will draft the agreement and mail it to my wife. I plan to call my wife after Monday and let her know it's on its way. I'm sure it will be a dramatic phone call, and I will update you on how it goes. Just a quick update since last week. I had a lengthy phone call with my mediator this morning. We went through all the paperwork I sent her, and she filled in the blanks. She should have the divorce agreement drafted and sent out by this Friday the 19th. She will send it via certified mail to prove my wife received it. Because of this, I decided not to inform my wife about it. She will have to sign for it at the post office. I thought, why should I give her any kind of heads up or advantage over me? I want to keep the advantage on my side. She can hire a lawyer after she receives it. My move to my new place is complete, and I couldn't be in better shape. It is a 12 by 45 mobile home behind my boss's house on his little ranch in the country. It is an older model trailer, but it is in excellent condition. My boss lived in it while building his house, and then he refurbished it about 8 years ago for his mother-in-law to stay in when she visited. All the carpet, paint, and everything inside is still fresh and almost new. The trailer is surrounded by cottonwood trees, and there is a pond about 50 yards behind it. Every morning, various deer and other animals come to visit. The trailer also has a small fenced yard, for my dog. I couldn't ask for anything better. My stepson is doing okay, but he is trying to find his own place. We spoke a couple of times over the weekend, and he told me that my wife disappeared overnight on Saturday and didn't come back home until about 7 o'clock yesterday evening. She wouldn't tell him where she went, so I assumed she was out with her friends at a bar and probably stayed over at one of their houses. Or she was with the other man. I can't say I feel any better about my situation. The last few days have been a dark hell, to be honest. I try to stay positive, but I feel like I'm dying inside. I don't eat much. I'm probably drinking more than I should, and sleep is a distant memory. I miss my wife so much that it physically hurts. And whenever I close my eyes to sleep, I see her having fun with the other man. I talked to my mom yesterday. My wife has been calling her nonstop every day. My mom says my wife sounds like she is losing her mind. I told my mom to block her calls. I weighed myself at work last night and I've lost 22 pounds in 3 weeks. Is that normal? I don't eat more than 1 meal a day anymore. I know people have told me to stay away from her, but at some point I have to talk to her about the divorce. I should probably call her on Monday and clear the air. Just a quick check-in before I leave to travel back to the other state for my court appearance. I talked to my wife for the first time yesterday. It was mostly silence and her crying. She asked me when I was coming back, and I told her firmly that I was not. She had not received the divorce papers yet, and she tried to convince me to wait a few months to see if she could change my mind. She promised to do anything and everything to make it up to me if I came back, and she said the other man was probably going back to jail for other things, so he was out of her life for good. She claims that my absence has shown her how much she needs me. I responded with a firm no. She wasn't rude or anything, she just said to do what I felt was necessary. I told her I would be in town tomorrow, and I wanted to stop by the house to get some more of my belongings. She said she would be at work, but asked if I could stop by her workplace so she could see me one last time. What do you guys think? Should I go see her? The current goal is to get my wife to sign the divorce agreement. It's a very fair agreement, and I told her so yesterday. We'll see how it goes. I have a feeling she will try to delay and stall as much as possible. I just want to be done with the whole thing. I'm not angry today, just emotionally exhausted and mentally drained. Some good things are happening though. I'm getting more hours at work, and the assistant manager at my company said she might hire me full-time. It all depends on one driver who might leave at the end of next week. I also received my temporary permit that will cover me until I meet my residency requirements. I applied for a school bus driving job, and the lady at the school district said she will call me if they want me to take an exam. If that happens, she said I am a shoo-in. The bus driving job would be perfect for me. I'm tired of driving big rigs, and I could probably work a side job with it. One of the reasons I stayed single for so long was because I was an independent operator. I knew that marriage was out of the question while I was trucking. The money wasn't enough to support a family, and I was on the road for weeks at a time. I had a small place that I called home, but I never spent much time there. Trucking can be a lonely life. That's why I sold my truck and settled down when I met and married my wife. I have no regrets. Trucking took a toll on my health, and I was tired of the lifestyle. Over the weekend, I tried calling my wife to see if she had signed the divorce papers yet. I couldn't reach her. Last night, my stepson told me that she had disappeared after work on Friday and didn't come home until 6 p.m. yesterday. She looked exhausted and collapsed into bed without telling him where she had been. My stepson says she is losing weight quickly and not taking care of the house. He spent all day yesterday cleaning because she was letting it get filthy. She's a mess. I tried calling all weekend and this morning, but she is ignoring me. I have to admit I am worried about her. I still love her, God help me. My stepson is working on getting his own place by the end of the month. He's afraid that she will end up on the streets. He doesn't know if she is still seeing the other man or not, but she barely talks to him anymore. She just locks herself in her room every evening. I knew when I met her that she had been through some tough times before. It angers me that she went through all that and managed to clean herself up only to marry me and then jump back into it with the other man for no good reason. It's just such a waste. Well, it is official. My stepson called me this afternoon. My wife got picked up for possession of X. I feel like my heart has been ripped out. Why do I even care? I fell apart a little last night. Looking back, I should have noticed the signs. She would stay out late, have mood swings, and disappear for hours without telling me. I was too trusting and never questioned her. It feels like the past year has been a lie. Tomorrow is a new day, and I will move on. The mind is the hardest thing to control. But like my grandpa used to say, keep your eyes on the goal. Never stop moving towards it. Run, stoop, crawl on your belly for a mile if you have to. Man, I wish he was here to give me a kick in the rear. I called the police station where my wife is being held. She has been charged with 1 count of possession for sale of X. Holy duck. That is a class 4 felony in her state. She could be sentenced to 5 years in prison. Stupid ducking woman, stupid, stupid, stupid. My stepson is a mess. Just a quick update. I drove down Saturday night and had a visitation with my wife on Sunday. I only got to see her for about 15 minutes. I brought the divorce agreement with me, and she signed it. So that is done. That was my main reason for going. Not much was said. She sat there in her orange jumpsuit, looking like an old woman I could hardly recognize. Tears were running down her face. I did not argue with her or scold her. We just sat in silence. She knows she is in deep trouble. I asked her if the person she was caught with was from the OM, and she said no. The OM got her back into using it. She told me she hates herself and regrets what she has done. I asked her if it was worth throwing me and her son away for X, and she just sat silently and cried more. After a while, I got tired of the silence, and I told her good luck with her case. And then I left. Then she asked me if she could email me, and I said yes. I gave her my new email, and I said I would be there for her to talk to. But I made it clear that I was not getting back together with her. Then I left and drove home, and that was that. My stepson is hurting. He's angry, sad, and scared, the whole range of emotions. The night after I got there, we stayed up and talked, and he said he was thinking about joining the military. I told him he was a man now and could make his own decisions. I wish he would stay in school, but I can tell he is not rushing into decisions. The good news is, I found out that my wife actually paid 6 months of rent to the landlord, so my stepson at least has a place to live for the next few months. I told him if he needed help with utilities, I would send him money. As for what my wife did with the rest of her money, I have no clue. She probably spent it on drugs. While I was at the house, my stepson and I thoroughly searched my wife's room and the rest of the house for anything else left by her. I found a shoebox under her bed, but thank God there was no X. What really upset me was all the lingerie she had in a box in the closet. She never wore that stuff for me, and I had never seen it before. She must have bought it for her OM. But even then, I hope the court shows mercy on my wife, as angry and hurt and devastated as I am. I really don't want to see her go to prison. In fact, the thought terrifies me. I'm torn between whether or not I want to be there for her through all of this. I'm still furious with her, but no matter how hard I try, I cannot hate her like I wish I could. I wish I could. I no longer want to be her husband. In fact, when I saw her, I was a bit repulsed. She has aged 10 years in the space of a month or so. It is really shocking how stress and anxiety can age someone. On Monday, I mailed off the divorce packet to the mediator, so the divorce process is on? At least I don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm struggling with whether or not to send emails. She is only allowed computer access once a week for about an hour, and even then, the emails are monitored by the guards. Any emails I receive would be emotionless and matter-of-fact. I want to stay updated on her hearings and what is going on, but I think after she is sentenced, I will distance myself and may even cut off all contact at that point. Another crazy thing happening is all these nasty calls and texts from her family. According to them, I am to blame for her being taken by the police because I left her. Her family are bottom feeders. In many ways, she was the best of them. Calling them trash would be a compliment. I have started blocking their calls and texts, one by one. Her mother is being particularly nasty. I told her mother yesterday that the only wrong I ever did, her daughter was loving her. This is my comment. This is part 1 of a 2-part story because it is quite long. I hope you guys are learning something from this story so far. I will try to work on the second part as soon as possible, but I haven't eaten yet and it's almost 2. Please subscribe and hit the bell to show some support, and I will be back with the second part soon.